What you are about to hear is highly classified. Pay attention and listen at all times. And most importantly, remember, if you start talking about company relaunches, you might just get rebooted off your own podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, you are now entering the partially Brantless episode of Zone 4. And welcome back to the Zone. I'm Brant Fowler.
I'm Chris Ventura.
I'm Gordon Domowski.
And I'm Captain Ron Fortier. Hey, Brant, what episode?
This is episode 329 of Zone 4.
My program just literally froze. I have to restart it.
Oh, boy, there's outtake number one.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, it's recording now. I got it. It's
okay.
good.
We'll edit that out.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
God. Yeah.
So, we don't need to redo that, though, right?
No.
Edit
it out. You guys can
right,
chop, snip, you know?
Yeah, of course. All right, so.
I sound like my doctor when he gave me my vasectomy, you know?
That's a whole other type of podcast, Ron.
It's a whole other kind of snipping, too, but let me tell you. Wow.
That's funny.
Thanks for sharing, Ron. Thank you very much for sharing.
You're
Where do you go from there?
Good
night, everybody.
I'm just trying to liven this up because this agenda is easily one of the most yawning, inspirational agendas we've had. We just talk about how slow things are in the comic world come February.
Exactly, yeah. And that's kind of the way it is in, movies, TV, everything at this time of year. So
we're just going to make things up, okay?
Yeah, exactly. So that works. It'll just be a whole show of making things up.
Yeah, is now a bad time for me to mention I'll be doing a guest shot on Flash and Legends of Tomorrow?
All right, there you go.
That's awesome. Who are you going to play, Gordon? I got to know.
I will be playing Niles Calder. They've got a nice solid gold wheelchair for me. Going to have to grow a beard. Can't really talk about plot points, but let's just say there might be a spin-off in the works. I'm just putting that out there.
All right.
Oh, yeah, and I'll be on Supergirl. I'm taking on the role of Superboy, my lifelong dream of being one of my favorite characters.
Oh, okay.
No plot points given away.
I've just been asked to star in the next Spider-Man movie as J. Jonah Jameson. There you go. All right.
Well, see, I'm on the comic side because I'm going to write a brand new Justice League title with Snapper Carr as the lead.
See, now, ours were believable. I mean,
I know.
I would buy that.
Yours was believable, Chris? Okay.
Mine was so believable. It could happen tomorrow.
Okay.
Gotta go to the gym for about a year.
Uh-huh.
See, I told you, one of them shows. Hey, you got some plugs to dish out there? Let's get the commercials out of the way.
Yeah, of course. As always, we are proud members of the Comics Podcast Network. You can find us on comicspodcasts.com each and every episode, along with a plethora of other shows on that network. And, of course, you can find us on Comic Frontline, Stitcher, iTunes, and about 3 dozen other places now. So there you go.
Yeah, we're over the entire net, aren't we?
That's right. We're taking over.
We are. Totally. World domination.
Yep.
Comic book headlines.
Speaking of taking over, I think the cats are taking over.
Oh.
Terrible segue?
Segue.
No, it's a good segue, but
Segue.
Look, up front, guys, you guys can ravish this topic to your heart's content. I'm a dog person, all right? Always have been, always will be, all right? But cats, give me a break, cats.
Well, I agree with you. I'm actually allergic to cats, so I'm really not a cat person.
Yep.
But I've always liked Garfield for some reason. I don't know why. I used to read the Fat books and everything when I was a kid and watch all the cartoons and all that stuff, so...
But you just like the sarcastic attitude of that cat. That's what you like, Brant.
Probably.
Oh, yeah.
And his love for lasagna.
So just spill it out. Give this exciting news to all our listeners out there.
So this summer, Dynamite and Kaboom, which is Boom Studios' All Ages line, are teaming up for a crossover between Garfield and Grumpy Cat. And then there's dead silence. Okay,
so far in reading that was, who the hell is Grumpy Cat? All right, I'm so out of the loop.
Okay, Ron, have you seen Facebook posts where it's got a cat that it's like a blackish white cat that looks like it's pissed off?
No, honestly, I can't say I have.
Okay, well, it's something that the kids are into. Okay,
something kids are into.
it's someone took a picture of their cat who looks kind of really ticked off, and they'll usually put words on it as a sarcastic rejoinder. So if you were to say, for example, gee, I'm really looking forward to the Zone 4 podcast recording, someone might say, oh, great, 2 hours of Brant Fowler. That's exciting with this cat on it.
Yeah, that happens.
So see, once again, civilization as we know it, sinks further and further into the morass. I mean, we had to put up with angry birds. Now we got grumpy cats. I mean, come on, Jeez.
Well, I'm going to step in and defend this on a couple of and defend this. First off, I love cats, so cats are always cool. Secondly, Grumpy Cat is a continuing series from, I think, Kaboom. One of my friends, Elliot Serrano, actually writes Grumpy Cat. And the news that you failed to mention, Brant, and you should be ashamed of,
I was about to get there, but go ahead,
is that Jim Davis is writing this book.
Which is awesome. Garfield creator Jim Davis. So,
yes.
No, I agree. That's
He
pretty
hates
awesome.
it?
What?
Wait, he hates the book?
He's writing the book.
Okay. I came back. I had to step away, and I hear that Jim Davis hates it. I'm like, what? What'd I miss?
He's writing it.
Okay. All right. That makes better sense. I was like, what? Brant, what lies are you still telling since I walked away?
So we had to explain to Ron who Grumpy Cat was, Chris, while you were gone.
I can see myself getting thousands of hate letters now from cat lovers around the country. Lay it on me. What the heck?
By the way, Grumpy Cat's real name, Tartar Sauce. Just throwing that out.
No wonder why he's grumpy. I think I'd be grumpy with a name like that.
So interesting crossover choices there, but it's fun.
Really?
I'm trying to think back on all the animated cats from cartoons and TV series and whatever. And I think, honestly, of everything that was out there since the way back when's, the only cat that I really got any kick out of it all was from Tom and Jerry cartoons. Okay, that to me was fun. I got a kick out of that. All right, but other than that, just The Aristocrats, Disney never did anything for me. And like I said, I think except for that small percentile of pure animal lovers out there in our audience, I think the thing with cats and dogs is just that. You're either a cat person or you're a dog person. I know very few people that are both. Now, I do know some, trust me. But they also have gerbils and goldfish and everything else. So
yeah,
there you go.
I don't have gerbils and goldfish. I mean, I do have a cat and a dog, but I mean, I wouldn't mind having a rabbit.
Do they get along?
Yeah. Well, our first cat and dog really got along. It's the new cat and the new dog, not so much.
What was that? Jeez.
Tommy hit my headset.
Tommy throwing the microphone away.
Tommy hit my headset, which hit the mic. Thank you,
Put the dog down, Tommy.
Put the dog down.
I was always partial to Heathcliff, personally.
I was going to say Heathcliff. Yes.
So I would love to throw in Top Cat and Heathcliff and Sylvester and all this, and throw them all in this book together, and just have this cat free for all. That's
now that's a comic I would buy.
The CJLA, the Cat Justice League of America.
There you go. I like it.
But didn't Supergirl have a pet cat?
Streaky.
Streaky, yeah.
That's my cat's name. When she listens.
What were you saying, Gordon?
I was about to say we have to be careful though because DC actually owns, because it's owned by Time Warner. We have to get special licensing, and I've heard rumors they have plans for Top Cat.
Oh, wow.
Just like they had plans to do a Suicide Squad Banana Splits comic.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yes, of course.
Yes, I'm leaving it there. I'm leaving it there.
Good.
And that's where it will stay, where it will develop garbage and stink and rot.
We talked about this on Frontline's live show last night. Did you guys know that they're doing a Justice League Looney Tunes crossover?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But it better be the classic.
My God.
It better be the classic.
You did not say what I think you just said, Brant.
Yeah, they're doing 4 different stories. You got Batman and Elmer Fudd.
Yep.
You got
God.
You got Yosemite Sam and Jonah Hex. You've got Roadrunner and Lobo, and Martian Manhunter and Marvin the Martian.
I'm looking forward to that one the most.
That's the only one, yeah.
Oh. It hurts. It just hurts.
God.
Now, one person on the comments last night on the live show was like, what if they do a reimagining like they've been doing for Hanna-Barbera? And I was like, dude, don't even say that. Because if they reimagine any of those characters, I'm done.
I can see Elmer Fudd running around with a Bane mask now.
Dude.
You're done.
We're done here. I'm done. I'm
Let me just say,
Catch the bat.
The last time I heard an idea this stupid, it was a cartoon in the 90s where they took the Looney Tunes characters and turned them into like virtual reality ninjas with like really cool sounding but lame names.
Uh-huh.
I forget what the project is. This book sounds like that.
I think I'm going to have to call this episode It's Bat Hunting Season now.
No, you will not, because we do not want DC to get any attention towards this part of the show. They'll get ideas. Oh, God. What would they do with Roadrunner? I want to know what they would... How would you reimagine Roadrunner?
I don't even want to speculate on how to reimagine.
No, yes, let's not. But I'm just wondering how you'd reimagine a bird. Because that's all he is a bird.
Right.
Well, maybe we'll be lucky, and the Roadrunner Lobo comic will be the classic Roadrunner, and Lobo is like the Wile E. Coyote. So it's the traditional Roadrunner being chased by Lobo, and Lobo's like hurting himself and blowing himself up and stuff
I want
like that.
Yes,
I would read that. I would read that.
Wasn't Lobo turned into a squirrel one time?
No.
Yeah, I think Lobo was turned into a squirrel one time.
Google, you are my friend.
Huh?
I'm looking it up.
I'm pretty sure he was turned into a squirrel at some point in the 90s.
A scroll or a squirrel?
A squirrel.
Oh my God, you are right.
Yeah.
What
so there you
the
go.
hell? Squirrel Girl versus Lobo? She turned him into a squirrel?
Lobo's DC, though.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
That makes no sense.
Well, it could have been that weird moment in time where DC and Marvel were kind of, because they were doing amalgam, so it might be from that kind of...
Must be, because that's the only picture I see that looks like it's from a comic and not fan-drawn.
Ah. Okay.
You know, right now I feel like starting a fight with either Chris or Ron just because I feel that the entertainment level of this podcast is slowly shrinking.
We talked about cats and birds and now squirrels.
Honestly, we've been on this.
What else are we going to talk about?
We've been on this topic 25 minutes, and that's 24 too long.
Yes, sir.
All right, moving on. Marvel Studios cast Malaysian actor Raja Ilya in mystery role. This is for an upcoming movie, which we have no idea, and I was just wondering if anybody had any speculation, any ideas who she might be playing. I'm not familiar with the actress.
Okay, well then, that answered my question. I'm going to look up the picture.
All I know is she's 31.
Ooh,
Yeah.
W.
For our female listeners, I have
Don't
to
say
apologize,
anything,
but
Tommy.
Hubba hubba.
I think that's their way of saying she's an attractive
Wow.
lady.
Yeah, she is. But that's it. And why is this a press release? Which is what's driving me crazy, okay? Do they want the fanboys to now dig out their encyclopedia of arcane and forgotten Marvel characters and spend the next 2 months trying to figure out who the hell is she going to be, you know? Oh, come on, you know? Jeez.
To defend this, a lot of times in Hollywood, there are general casting calls, and so this is kind of a preemptive strike on Marvel to say, no, you guys can't have her. We're using her.
Well, I know. I mean, I read the press release, Gordon, and I think it's rather hilarious that even she has no clue who she's playing. She's just been told to fly to Hollywood on such and such a date, at which point they will tell her what her role is going to be.
Gee, Brent, you really scraped the bottom of the barrel with these, didn't you?
I'm telling you, there was not that much news this time.
Well,
around.
did you guys see that there's a new Bane comic coming?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but with Chuck Dixon and Graham Nolan.
I'm waiting to hear that Chuck Dixon's bringing back Young Justice or one of his other young.
Hey,
hero books.
I'm just glad he's back at DC doing this.
That's true.
Okay,
that's
okay.
Cool. Yeah, I would like to see him back on Nightwing actually.
Oh my God! Yes.
Well, fingers crossed. The Bane series is a hit, and they can move on from there. But considering the level of talent of both houses these days, them going back to one of the best in the business and giving him a regular job is good news as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it's good news. I'm tired of Bane. That's all. I'm
well,
just tired.
Again, if anybody can change him up, it's the guy who created him.
It is true.
I have to stand. I mean, I am tired of him, but I think it's really the fault of the Batman comic because we had a Bane story arc, then we had a 2-issue break, which is basically a month because DC's doubling their books up now, and now we're back into a Bane story arc, and this is going to last until May.
Not to mention he was the focal point of cartoons and movies and so on and so forth.
You're a little bit more burnt down on Bane than me. I'm tired of seeing him for the past couple of months alone.
The thing to keep in mind here, guys, is that even though Chuck did create him, all right, ultimately what happens is he's owned by DC Comics. Yeah. And arguably the best story arc was the original one that Chuck actually wrote. Yeah. Now, they splatter it all over the globe with all these other stories and blah, blah, blah. Like you said, way overexposure. If anybody can rein that in, get back to the core of the character and make it work, it's Chuck Dixon. So again, I'm fingers crossed, like I said, get rid of all that other hype and fluff that we've had for the last 10 years and get the character back down to his actual origins and roots. And this could be something really good.
I agree, 100%. That's why I'm going to give it a shot. But I'll probably read it digitally and then buy the trade paperbacks if I like it. I'm starting to try to organize my books a bit better. I'm doing the same thing with X-Men Gold and Blue. I'm going to read them through online, and then I'm going to get the trade paperbacks of the collected for my physical copies.
Yep, there you go.
Brent, I'm surprised you didn't put another thing down on this list.
Which is?
Because I would love to hear Gordon and Ron's, because we heard everybody else's. So the rumor is that Ben Affleck is not only not directing the Batman movie anymore, but he's apparently rumored to be leaving or not wanting to be Batman anymore in general.
Thank God.
My initial thought was when the other director packed his bags and left, and somebody posts pictures on Facebook of Affleck, and I swear to God, he looks like the biggest baby who didn't get his own way. All right. And that's it, right? He's taking his ball and leaving the field, okay? You're not going to let me do what I want, then I'm taking my ball, and we're not going to play the game. And I'm like, sayonara. Who the freak is you?
And here's the thing. Let me provide maybe a different slant on it. Affleck is writing the film. He, at one point, was supposed to direct the film as well as star in it. It became clear that trying to do... It would be one thing if he was doing... I know he just had a film that got kind of raked over the coals. But when you do that, making a film is a lot of effort. If you're trying to do a one-man Batman film, I could see where DC said, okay, maybe we need to get someone in. So they got Matt Ryan, who did Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Makes sense. First off, a lot of fans are convinced that Affleck is the best Batman ever. Hell no. He's dollar store Christian Bale. Okay? let's get that.
I love that. Oh, write that down.
Okay, I can see why they brought him in, because he was an Argo, and Argo is like a similar kind of guy who's crafty role. But if he wants to leave, first off, he's probably bound. He's definitely going to be bound by a contract. So getting out of that contract is not going to be easy. Mm-hmm. Secondly, he needs to understand he's a hired gun on somebody else's project. This isn't like, hey, I've got this script that I want to do. This was, hey, look, you need to, DC's calling the shots here. It's not his little vanity project. And, quite frankly, I was not impressed with him in Batman v Superman. I was not impressed with him in Suicide Squad. I'm sorry. We don't need, thank God Pouty Batman is leaving, Yep. We don't need a dollar store Christian Bale.
That's the term. Pouty. It's written all over his face every time you see him.
I personally think that it's strictly rumor right now. I think that everybody thought he was going to leave the project when he stepped down from directing, or DC stepped him down. And now, if anything, I feel like since a lot of people are speculating that, especially because we already know he did a wonderful Daredevil. I mean, it's Brant's favorite movie ever. I think that he wants to avoid being in another Daredevil issue. So the fact, whether he did say it or not, I feel like he's under a 3-movie contract. Justice League, Superman v Batman, and the Batman movie. He could step down right after the Batman movie because Justice League is basically all but edited together at this point.
Mm.
Wow, a grunt? That's all I get?
Oh.
I simply don't care.
No, just mentioning Justice League makes my stomach hurt, but that's all right.
Yeah, that too.
Oh.
Incidentally,
Gordon, I have to apologize because I did a reckless thing a couple nights ago and I actually sat down and watched Batman or Superman versus the other one, whatever the hell the name is, on cable.
You did.
2 hours of my life I can never get back.
I publicly apologize to you. Why did you do that?
Why did
you do that to yourself?
I swear to God, that is easily the worst comic book movie ever made. Scene for scene for scene. To the end, it just, Gail Gadot, God bless her. You get a couple of minutes of, oh, wow. But then you see that stupid Aquaman piece. You see that stupid Cyborg piece. And then you just know there's just tons of more awful stuff coming down the road, okay?
Okay, well, Ron, take comfort in one thing. When somebody tells you, like when you hear somebody say that, oh, Batman v Superman is great and it's the ultimate movie, you can tell them you are bleeping wrong.
Or you could
you can say it with conviction now. What?
I was going to say, or you could just say that Mel Gibson was just hired to do the next Suicide Squad movie.
Oh, man, yeah.
See, I would see that.
Yeah, I would too.
No, that is actually true.
Yes.
Well, he's in talks with it.
Yeah, he's in talks, but I hope it happens.
Who would he be playing?
Well,
he's directing.
Oh, directing. Okay.
Yep. And having seen Hacksaw Ridge, he can pull this off. It would be the bloodiest comic book movie ever made.
Just hopefully they leave Joker out of it this time.
Either that or they rip his head off in the film.
That would be fine.
I never thought I'd see a war movie that could outdo the first, 15 minutes of Saving Private Ryan. But boy, Hacksaw Ridge delivers on that score. Wow.
All right. So, staying in the DC universe and going down to the small screen, I want to get your guys' opinion on this. Stephen Amell is open to Arrow switching to flash forwards. As we know, this is the last year that they're doing the flashbacks.
Flash forwards. In other words, future sites, like future flash.
No thanks. Oh my God, that's the ultimate what's what I want to use? That's the desperate choice of soap operas.
Yeah.
Okay? It's like start the season with, oh, there's somebody in the body bag, and then spend the next, 7 or 8 episodes trying to figure out who got killed, who died.
Somebody's not liking How to Get Away with Murder.
Yeah, okay? I mean, look, if my wife heard me right now, I'd get slapped across the side of the head. She loves that show, okay? Anywho, all right, that flash forward, free destination in telling the story, I think is a lot of crap. I think it's bad writing, all right? You're supposed to involve your viewers, as you do as a writer, involve your readers. Bring them along, okay? But when you flash forward just as a gimmick to show all these horrible scenes, and then it's like, how do we get there? And whose body was that under the milk truck that tipped over and blah, blah, blah. No. It's just, they get rid of the back, the flashbacks. Just tell a straight story now, okay? I'm tickled to death to see the flashbacks gone. Can't we just have a normal series now, week to week to week?
Yeah.
And of course,
ahead.
that I was about to say, that flash forward gimmick is working so well for the Flash.
Duh. Oh,
I don't mind it as like a one-off kind of thing, but like consistently, like you're talking about with How to Get Away with Murder, since I brought that up, the first season was okay. Now that it's kind of played out, that whole thing, flashing forward and everything. So I tend to agree with you, and I don't want this at all. I'm ready for, really, Chris. I'm really ready for. He's editing my agenda again.
no, you know what? Honestly, okay. The truth of the matter is, I mean, if you want to have an exciting, hour drama on television, then stick to the old tried and true. Good writing, good plotting, all right, and nice little end of episode cliffhangers that catch people by surprise, so that we want to come back the following week and see what happens. All right. I mean, that's still a gimmick, but it's a tried and true gimmick that'll keep you, glued to your chairs, week to week. And I'm trying to think. Some of my favorite, TV shows online today and in the past did those kind of things. All right. It was basically you get like 40 minutes of a good drama, good conflicts. All right, if you're in the narrative, and then you save that punch for the last 5 minutes of the show. All right. And you keep building up throughout the season. That's good writing. That's good storytelling. That builds suspense and keeps you, and keeps the audience entertained. Yeah. My humble opinion.
I agree.
I would just like to also state, since I really don't watch Arrow and have no opinion on this show, they could always cancel it and make a Superman one.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be okay with that.
I'd love to see a Superman series come back. I really would. But I wonder if they could write them today.
That worries me. Yeah.
They did a good job in those couple episodes of Supergirl.
They did. Those are
Yes,
guest
they did.
appearances, okay? Could they sustain that? I'd love to see it happen, okay?
Well, Lois and Clark did really well in the 90s. I mean, I wouldn't think it could be too hard to translate it to the now. I mean, Smallville, and he wasn't even Superman at the time, and they did an excellent job for 10 seasons. And that's pre-Superman.
Oh yeah, but I mean, we're now living in the Riverdale era.
Oh,
Talk
God.
about that show. We don't
So
ever talk about that show.
So imagine what a Riverdale version of Superman would be like.
Oh, it's not even.
You just crushed my dreams. Don't touch Superman. Leave him alone.
All right. So moving on, I'm going to throw these two together. First look at Freeform's Cloak and Dagger stars together, which was not really a story because it was just a photo of the actors. And 6 series
They're
regular
pretty people, though. I got to give you that. They're pretty people.
They are.
There you go.
And 6 series regular cast for Freeform's Cloak and Dagger. And the only reason I put these in there was to get your guys' opinion on this show, what you've heard of it so far, and where you think it's going. I think it's interesting that, traditionally in the comics, these two characters were experimented on with drugs and all this stuff, and that's how they get their powers. And in this show, they're kind of alluding to the fact that these two had powers all along, and they've kept them secret for some reason.
That works.
So, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, look, the thing with me that again, I have no clue what Freeform is in the first place. Okay, I mean,
it's ABC Family.
It's Olympic figure skating or something. You know,
it's ABC Family, Ron.
Yeah, it's ABC Family Netflix, basically.
Okay, so as yet another show, another network, or whatever. Look, I liked Cloak and Dagger, the comic, when it first came out. I enjoyed it. I liked the concept, the visual, identification of the characters and how well they were written, and it was a lot of fun. I thought it was a great comic book. If they could capture that kind of feeling from the comic and translate it to a series, then I'm all for it. I would be for any regular comics, series that was created back then. So yeah, I mean, why not? My thing is, changing how they got their powers. I don't see as a big detour from the original comic. I guess basically it's way too early to tell how good or how bad or in between this series is going to be. Like I said, and it flippantly was the picture of the principal characters look very much like their comic counterparts, the costuming, everything. So, fingers crossed. Maybe this will be another honest adaptation of a comic series.
Let me put in perspective that Freeform is the channel that does Pretty Little Liars.
Okay.
Just to throw it out there. Okay. Everybody knows what channel we're talking about, what kind of content they put out and everything.
All right.
Also, Shadowhunters. So.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'm familiar with Shadowhunters, but it's based on a series of young adult books.
Right.
Yeah. Which is like the hottest market in literature today.
Right. So that might be the direction they head with this.
It probably would be. It would, and that probably wouldn't be a bad thing, Brant.
Any thoughts?
When they first came on the scene, they were pictured as young, as young teenagers.
Right. Yeah. Any other thoughts on Cloak and Dagger? Okay.
Bus just drove away. Literally, just took away everybody on the cast.
Yeah. I like the Cloak and Dagger in the Maximum Carnage storyline.
That was the best. That was the best part of Cloak and Dagger in my life, was during the Maximum Carnage series.
Yeah. I agree. And I love in the video game when they pop up and help you for a second.
Yes. Yes. Especially Cloak, because he would literally just open his cloak up, the whole screen would go black, it would come back, and if you did it during the boss fight, the boss would be done, and it's like, yeah!
Pretty much. All right, so Jamie Chung has been cast as Blink in an Untitled X-Men pilot. This was the other show, I think, I don't know what network it is. I don't know if it's Fox or FX.
Fox. It says Fox's X-Men pilot. Okay,
it's on Fox. I know FX has Legion, so I wasn't sure if this was FX as well. But Jamie Chung, actress on Once Upon a Time as Mulan. She was in Sucker Punch. She was on MTV's Real World. I like her. I think she's a good actress. I think she's a good choice. And Blink, I'm actually a fan of Blink. I think she's one of the best things to come out of the Age of Apocalypse. So this could be interesting, but I'm still unclear of whether these TV shows tie into the movie universe at all. I don't think they do, but I don't know.
Yeah, I get the feeling that the X-Men, the Legion and X-Men they may take their cues from the style of the movies, but I don't think they're going to be I don't think you can quite fit them within a certain continuity. Of course, X-Men movie and continuity are not exactly terms that go together.
It's very true.
Well, is anybody, I'm just curious. I'm not, but is anybody watching X Factor?
It's on already?
X Factor?
Was it X Factor? I'm trying to think what it's called.
Are you thinking of Generation X? No, was it Generation X?
No.
Legion. It has to be Legion,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Is anybody watching that?
I've watched the first 2 episodes of it.
And what'd you think?
Honestly, it's really slow for me. I was literally falling asleep on the second episode. Okay. I like the concept of it, but it's been a really slow start for me. Have you watched it?
No, I've read a few reviews, and from one of them I got the gist that at least for the first episode, the reviewer was saying that they purposely make it vague as to whether the things are really happening in the narrative or they're all happening in the character's head. He's basically, it's an illusion.
Yeah, it's very ambiguous as to whether it's all in his head or not. You don't know what parts are real, if any of it's real. And that goes to Legion's character. I mean, he's traditionally kind of a little bit out there, right? I mean, he's the son in the comics. He's the son of Professor Xavier and Moira McTaggart, and I don't know if they're sticking to that because they haven't mentioned either one of those characters at all. But he's got like all these different personalities, but it's part of his abilities. And in the show, they're kind of playing with that. At one point, he's in a mental institution. At one point, he's being held by government, operatives, and the next minute he's being rescued by other supposed mutants. But you don't know. It keeps flashing back from here and there, and you really don't have a clue what's real or not.
Does he have the hair?
No.
Then it's not Legion.
They're doing a good job with the psychological aspect of it. It's just a very, very slow series. Like the first episode, it was actually a 90-minute episode. It felt like 2.5 hours.
Oh my God!
Oh, Jesus,
kiss of death! Ooh.
Yeah, for me anyway.
Yeah.
And the second episode wasn't much better. It was only an hour, but it felt very long to me.
I'm glad you're taking one for the team, Brant.
Yeah, there you go.
Watches it.
Yeah, if Ron can watch Batman v Superman, Brant, you can watch Legion.
There you go.
Yes. We suffer for the cause.
Yeah. So
speaking of suffering for the cause,
oh my goodness.
Time it is, Brant.
It is time, I guess, for Facebook shout-out.
Oh!
Shout it out loud. Shout it out
loud. So take it away, Ron.
Oh my God, the shout-outs I have this week. Believe me, okay? And you know what? When we do our pitch at the end of this little segment, Brant, we gotta stop beating the drums because my list is getting short.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah. All right. So, hey, look, I've got 3 regular shout-outs here, and then I'm going to have a special one at the end, all right?
Okay.
So, number one shout-out, and the first couple you guys are going to be on board with. The first is Tim the Wizard Marston.
Yes.
Okay? Somebody knows this guy because apparently he says he went to a lot of different schools. Which begs the question, why? Eventually graduating from Southwest High School. He lives in Oceanside, California, and is engaged to Chico Marston. Now, again, not being connected on Facebook, all right, I see very little on the page, but I got to tell you guys, okay, he and Chico have this little baby boy who is adorable. What a handsome little lad, okay? And I think I see his friend connects. And he's connected to you, isn't he, Brant?
Tim Marston?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe he's a Frontline viewer, isn't he?
He's a Frontline viewer and a huge follower of Frontline Live and Dark Adventure Live, especially.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Like I said, he looks like, like I said, a great dad, okay? Because he posts all the pictures of this absolutely adorable little boy. So, hey, Tim, thanks for being a follower of the show. Really appreciate it. Second shout-out, again, and Brant, this is probably yours, Jeremy Renfro.
Yeah, another Frontline viewer. Yeah.
Same thing, yep.
Who lives in Beaumont, Texas, all right? And from his page, I get he's really into anime. He had a birthday at the start of the year on February 2nd. He turned 26. So, hey, Jeremy, belated greetings. And no, you're not old at 26. I read those posts, okay? Trust me, when you get to where I'm at, then you'll know what old is. He's into comics in a big way and is a huge Star Wars fan. So, there you go. Jeremy, thanks a lot. Shout out number 3. Somebody I know for a change. And that's K.G. Maccabe. Her name is Gail Maccabe, and she is a writer. She studied at USC Upstate, and went to Bowling Springs High School, lives in Pacolet, South Carolina, is huge on animal rights and does a lot of essays and protest things on animal testing by chemical companies. So bravo, that's a worthy cause. She's a big fan of fantasy and sword and sorcery, loves Chris Leiber's work. She loves to travel with her husband, Jerry. So, Gail, thanks a lot for listening. Really appreciate the support. And finally, guys, this is going to be my little bonus shout-out, and I want to tip my hat to Gordon, who made it possible. We of Zone 4 give a gigantic shout-out to 109-year-old Ruth Benjamin, who says that her longevity is due to eating bacon every day.
Oh, yes.
Thank you, Ruth.
What an angel. Gordon,
we always knew this.
So, there you go. Our shout-outs for this week. And like I said, Brant, the tally's getting short. We need more shout-outs. So how do people go about doing that?
Well, all you have to do is head over to our Facebook page at facebook.com/Zone4Podcast and hit the like button. Like so many of you have done, because I do need to get you an updated list, Ron. We've had 4 new likes this week alone. So,
super.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll have to get together and see
a
where
few
we
of my
left
friends, off. A few of my friends found the Zone 4 Facebook.
Yeah, a couple of mine did too. So it's pretty cool. Thank you.
Yeah, let me update that list. Definitely. I think I'm down to like maybe less than half a dozen already.
Oh, wow.
And like I said, especially Ruth Benjamin, 109 years old, bacon every day. God bless her.
She fits right in.
She's one of us.
Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely.
yes.
All right. So with that, it's topic time.
Topic time!
It's topic time.
All right. So this for this month's Zone 4, we're going to be talking about relaunching. Is it good or bad for the comic industry? And the reason that this became a topic of discussion for me in my mind is because I saw a story talking about Valiant relaunching several of their titles. And we're used to this. We're used to this with Marvel and DC, right? They do this regularly, especially Marvel, in recent years. And now it seems to be trickling down to other companies. And I'm really starting to wonder about this whole initiative of relaunching. And I get sales-wise, number one issues sell better. I understand that. But overall, as readers, as fans, is this good for the industry or is it bad for the industry? Thoughts? Chris?
Okay. This is going to be fun. Relaunches. As far as like a general relaunch after a very, 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 like let's say the company had started and it went for 20 years, 30 years, and it followed the same format, the same universe. If let's say a lot of people have dropped off of the comics or whatever, this is not counting DC or Marvel because we'll get to that. I wouldn't say a relaunch as much of a reimagining would be nice, like a reset, like not even a reimagining, more of a reset, like start things a bit over again, modernize things. But as far as relaunching, Marvel does it, like you said, so often that I don't even know why people bother with issue number 1s anymore. When it comes to Marvel, I see issue number 1, it's like issue number 350 of number 1s. So with Marvel, it's like a real question is relaunching often, if that would be bad for the comic industry. And I have to say definitely. I mean, DC at least puts a 10 to 15 year space in between their relaunches. However, on the flip side, their relaunches are astronomically drastic to the point where it's like a completely new universe. And that's not good either. If you're going to relaunch something, I would say you relaunch it with the familiarity of the characters. But like, now we're in, when we started this, it was the 1980s with typewriters and whatever. And now we're in the 2000s and we've got computers and, we're going to modernize the Daily Planet.
80s with typewriters, Chris? Really?
What's wrong with typewriters?
I'm saying, never mind. Computers have been around since the 80s. You realize
okay,
this, right?
fine. Okay, fine, smarty pants. Let's go back to the 1930s with Superman. In the 1930s, they didn't even think computers would exist. In the 1930s, typewriters. They're not going to be still using them now. So a set would be more of what I would do. A relaunch, especially a drastic one or a constant one, of course it's going to hurt the industry. That's why a lot of people are dropping off of, like, when DC's New 52. How many people in our clique of friends said they're done with DC, they're done with it completely, and walked away for years? And even Rebirth is, like, pulling teeth to get those fans that walked away because they changed all those traditional characters so much. Trying to get them back has been a chore.
Yeah.
Let me interject, Chris, because you mentioned Rebirth. And you said DC waits 10, 15 years. They did their relaunch in 5 years this time.
But there's a reason for the 5 years. There's a reason for the 5 years. All the fans were walking out. They didn't walk out after Crisis on Infinite Earths. So this is, and they're not, and actually they quoted that this is not a relaunch, that they're trying to. But it is though, isn't it?
I think the New 52's promotional campaign was easily the dumbest thought out, project and marketing in comics since the history of the comic book, because they slattered it everywhere. This is a great new jumping on point, and basically what happened was their old fans said, yeah, it's also a great jumping off point. And that's exactly what they did. All right, true. It's just totally dumb to come out with that kind of a statement. And as you recall, when we were doing all the shows back when all this was happening, there was a huge negative feedback wave, reaction from old-time fans who felt that they were just being, shrugged off and saying, hey, thanks for your support, but we want the little kids now get lost, So, I mean, reboots, relaunches, whatever you want to call them, it's to me, it's still foreign country because, I mean, being the oldest guy here in this discussion, all right, I can remember when I was 8, 9, 10 years old buying DC comics, all right, and it wasn't unusual to see the numbers on those left-hand corners into the 500s, 600s, 700s, 800s, all right, and it was a given. It was just a given. You just kept publishing the comics, you kept publishing Batman, you kept publishing, and try to understand, even as you were going through changes, with the eras, as Chris brings out, the sensibilities of the times, you didn't change the numbering. So that you had Batman going in certain directions, and suddenly the 1960s come up, and we have the camp, the Adam West television show, right? Nobody relaunched Batman. They just kept doing him like that. Then what happens is, because of those shows, all right, there was some pushback from the fans. There was reactions like, this isn't our Batman. Well, you know what? He'd never been that Batman. But by the time the TV series was gone, you had enough fans bugging DC to the point where you started getting decent writers like Denny O'Neil and Steve Englehart, and we started getting a darker, more grim Batman, trying to harken back to the days of his actual birth in the 30s. Again, though, here's what I keep saying. There was no changing the numbers of the comics. You would have been collecting Batman from the late 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s and had seen all that change, all the different creators, all the different arts, but kept the title, kept the numbers, all right? It's not until, I'm trying to remember when DC finally got this brainchild, and I think
Crisis on Infinite Earth, 1986.
Well, it was also getting John Burns involved, who John Burns said, well, I can change Superman and make him much more appealing to the crowds today. And suddenly we get this new Superman, all right, this new version of the origin, all this good stuff because of a superstar comic creator, whatever. And when all of that happened, in the back of my mind, when I saw Superman go from issue 935 to 1 in a month's time, you just knew that somebody had opened Pandora's box. What I want to finish up with this is, ultimately, this whole idea of relaunching and reboots, they were going to stay somewhat conservative. All right, they did it on an economic reason, obviously to satisfy younger fans, but then they went at least 10, 15 years. Now, though, we have this acceleration rate where, again, thanks to flops like New 52 and whatever Marvel's, big programs are, suddenly you have the houses wanting to reboot every 5 years. It makes no sense at all. How you can build any kind of a readership or loyalty among fans that you're going to keep around for just, 3, 4, 5 years and then shrug off and say, okay, we want the next generation. There is no other generation. Okay, hey, we had a little bit of a snafu here with the internet connection. Brant's gone, so the three of us are going to plow ahead. And I'm not going to go too much further with this, except to say that I think at one time comic companies were fine with changing sensibilities and storytelling approaches as they would bring new creators in. And they continued to do this. And the point I made, and I know Gordon wants to talk about it, but it was nothing, you just kept the continuity of the numbers going. I think when Burns came to DC and started the Superman thing and they decided to give a new number one, obviously we all know that was a gimmick that really launched this whole, let's reboot and get number one because number ones are collectible and played to that market. Whereas, like I said, here I was collecting comics for something like 30, 40 years without the title or the number of the issues changing. It was like building a great comic collection that you could go back over a period of time and reread your comics and see the changes that happened. Some were good, some were bad, but you kept that kind of continuity and you respected your fan in a way that I don't think we see happening today. So, Gordon, your thoughts?
Well, to address why you had that consistent continuity, throughout the 50s and the 60s, in terms of handling postage for magazines, a lot of the reasons why comic companies kept the numbering was that it would actually cost them more to ship a new number one. So, for example, All-Star Comics, which had the Justice Society, all of a sudden became All-Star Western, and they kept the numbering to keep that up.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I do think that, and when DC did the Crisis on Infinite Earths and wanted to revamp it, it was basically out of a sense of, okay, maybe we need to figure out how to make our comics relevant for fans. They needed to do a lot of cleanup. They saw it as, you've got all these Earths, you've got all this. So I think sometimes when you do a relaunch, it can be helpful if you need to clean out a lot of basically garbage. The sad thing is, however, the reboot or the relaunch, it's really becoming more an expression of creative bankruptcy. Like, how many times have we seen Marvel Now? How many times have we seen DC, even within the new 52, go back and forth on, is Superman a cocky guy? Is he, he has armor, he doesn't have armor. And it kind of feels more like that desperate ploy to grab that new number one, oh, we got to get this. But the thing is that there's just so much, instead of focusing on the books, it's focusing on building buzz for the books. And I'm one of those fans that walked away from DC because it was like, I really don't care. With Marvel, I really don't care. You can only go so far in terms of publicity and trying to stoke up conversation where, you get number one, yeah, everyone's going to buy a number one, but they should be focusing on what about number 2, number 3, number 12.
Right. So let me ask you guys this, okay? Because again, this is a relevant topic, very much so, because it's the state of the industry today, and so it's like, and we all agree, we're really tired of seeing this happen every like 3-4 years now. It's insane. So my question is this: what is preventing them from just biting the bullet and saying, you know what? Let's just no more monthlies. Let's just make them mini-series. All right, let's get a creative team in and do a 6-issue Superman arc. Or let's get another creative team in and do a standalone graphic novel. Or they have enough creators, and God knows every young writer and artist wants to work with them still to this day. Would it be wise to just get rid of the monthlies altogether and just keep producing comics a la miniseries and graphic novels?
It sounds really, especially with Marvel, because we've had this conversation on Frontline all the time, that whenever the writer sneezes and steps off a book, they start renumbering it. So technically, it's like going into another book. Because every time a creative team changes on Marvel, 99% of the time they'll start a renumbering.
Yeah.
So it's exactly what you're saying already, Ron. Just basically, it would work for Marvel and not for DC, and I'll explain why. For Marvel, they're basically doing that already. Anytime a team changes, it's a new volume. Just instead of making it a new volume and really screwing with the collectors, because then it's like Amazing Spider-Man volume 67, issue 7, and it only goes up to like issue 6. Oh, not issue 6. It only goes up to issue like 17. But in this case, if you were to take these volumes and instead of making them volumes, just put a title on them, make them a mini-series, boom.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
You don't have to worry about putting volume whatever.
Right,
You
exactly.
just say
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
And it would work perfect. But for DC, what DC's trying to do is they don't really renumber, except when New 52 happened. Of course, they renumbered everything. Everything went back to number 1. Before that, everything went to like the 200-300s, depending on which title it was. Rebirth, and this is what I was going to say to Brant when he finished his thought. Rebirth, technically, the universe didn't restart. It was continuing forward, but it's like a chapter 2. It's like they knew they lost all the old fans, so now they're trying to bring the old fans back by slowly saying, okay, well, the New 52 was caused by, and we all know this by now, Dr. Manhattan. So now it's like the journey to get back to the original DC. So Rebirth is still in the New 52 universe. It's just they're no longer thinking about New 52. They're looking forward to, okay, how are we going to bring back all the old fans? Because the new fans, and this is no offense to the younger generation, I've just noticed this because it's just the way it is. The new fans have left after issue 6.
Yeah,
they were gone.
Right. Yeah.
So they want the old fans who were there for all 200, 300 issues.
There you go. Right.
So that's what they're doing. Rebirth is a 2-year event to take us from the New 52 back or to a point where all the familiar characters we knew and loved before 2011's debacle of we should never even ever think about relaunching again, DC. Remember this. We're going to get back to that universe, or at least a version of it that brings the new to keep the new readers that did stick around and don't have attention spans of a goldfish, and bring back the old readers at the same time. For DC, they are very good at doing monthlies. They keep it going. The problem was the reboot. That was what hurt DC, which it isn't even. It's a relaunch, but it was a reboot complete. With Marvel, they're just making miniseries. They're even, and we talked about this on Frontline Live. They're even ending series like without even announcing that they're ending them. They're just not in the solicits, so they're basically secretly ending series as well. Just make them minis, then it won't matter. You'll know when it's over.
Right. That's my argument. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think, Gordon?
Yeah. I mean, I agree with Chris because like I was reading Squadron Supreme and issue 15. It's like, okay, there's supposed to be this big thing, and it's like, okay, I'm not going to fight you. Let's all live happily ever after. And I'm like, what? But I think a lot of Chris's comments about DC remind me of a quote that Dan Didio made at a convention, where someone asked him, doesn't he do more comics for kids? And he said, DC doesn't write comics for kids. We write comics for 45-year-olds. And I think the sad thing is that DC seems more willing to cater to the same admittedly shrinking audience than, at least Marvel. Say what you want about their content, but they're at least trying to address that, maybe our audience isn't just 45-year-olds. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times with reboots and relaunches, it's a way of kind of like, you think that, people, what I think gets forgotten is it's about the frickin' books. It's about making the books good and attracting the audience, because, people won't, I don't think people are as fooled by the number one buzz as they have been in the past. Mm-hmm. And I mean,
you can only do the same old gimmick over and over again until finally people wise up and say, no thanks. Yep. All right. So, anyways, yeah, I think we see more fans on a regular basis today who appreciate minis and not even minis. Basically, sit back and say, "I'll wait for the collection and the graphic novel." And I think that's a justified approach of the fans. All right.
I think I just said that actually.
No, you
said
did.
That at the beginning of the cast, I did.
No, yeah, you did. And that's what I'm saying. I think it's the changing shape of what we're seeing coming, today. At least when I go to comic shops, all right? I go to comic shops and I see a wall of monthlies, and there's almost no interest in them whatsoever. But I watch people of all ages, all right, heading for the graphic novel sections, the complete sections. Okay?
And I remember somebody asked me, when would I be willing to, why do I still buy monthlies, or would I ever trade paperback? And my answer is simple. If I wasn't doing reviews weekly, if I wasn't doing all the stuff that I do online, probably by now I would be. I would be collecting all my books except Superman. Nothing will ever stop me from buying Superman every single week. But other than Superman, yeah, I probably would be trade paperbacking everything. And I started thinking to myself recently, especially with the way Marvel's starting to jack prices up to $10 a book. Why am I going to buy single issues? I could read it on Comixology. I could read it online, and then just wait for the physical trade paperback. And that's why I said when I saw X-Men, they got Generation X, Weapon X, X-Men Blue, X-Men Gold, the Jean solo, the Iceman solo that nobody better buy, and a few other things. I'm just going to wait for the books. I'll read the single issues online. And then when volume 1 of the book comes out, number 1, easier to organize. Number 2, the whole story arc will be there, or at least half if it's a 12-issue story arc. It'll all be there in one book that I can return to and read the entire arc instead of going one issue by one issue by one issue again. And that's just how I'm going to probably be collecting a lot of my Marvel, except for maybe Amazing Spider-Man. And maybe even at some point Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah. Well, I see that as the future as far as the economics of comics and the relationship between the diehard readers and the publishers.
Absolutely.
Gordon, any last words to wrap us up?
Look, don't believe the hype. I've pretty much switched to reading trades, and simply because if companies are going to ultimately by relaunches and reboots, the comic companies are basically shooting themselves in the foot. They're not building an audience. They're just kind of, they're getting a turnstile audience. So, like you guys, I read trades. I read it electronically. I rarely, if ever, buy monthlies anymore simply because of this.
Yeah.
And you know what? You can point the finger at DC and Marvel because of the reboots and the relaunches and everything. I got to say, the indies, though, they've been trying to trudge along, with all of their stories without reboots, without really doing much.
Right.
So.
All right. Well, there you go. I think that's pretty much going to wrap up the show, guys.
Do we want to talk about really quick what's coming out with everybody?
Yes, as always.
Yep.
Go ahead, Gordon.
Okay, well, I've been writing away and trying to get some freelance work, but I should hopefully have a book or two coming out from Pro Se Productions, and then also Crimson Badge from Last Number Press. That'll be a book that'll be a webcomic first, so keep your eyes open for that.
I'm excited for that. I'm really excited because Brant and Lisa keep telling me about it, and I don't want to hear the story, even though I work in the company. I want to see it come out, so I'm keeping myself spoiler free.
No problem.
Hey, as far as I'm concerned, whatever comic books I'm doing right now, I'm writing a lot of short stories for a lot of independent titles, and hopefully in the next couple months I'll have things to announce. As far as Airship 27 is concerned, I want to thank Gordon, because Gordon's once again a lifesaver for us as one of our regular proofreaders. And sometimes this weekend we're going to be releasing a new novella by Michael Housel called The Hide Seat, which is a great little book, a boxing pulp, if you will. And at the same time, I want to thank Brant. I'm sorry that he couldn't stick it out because of his internet connection, but we recently recorded episode 24 of the Airship 27 podcast. So Rob Davis and I have actually been doing this for 2 years now, and really proud to be a member of the Zone 4 podcast family. So that's what I got. Chris?
All right, I'm going to promote one thing because Brant wrote me to mention this. This is going up on Friday, but yesterday, for those of you listening now, there was a live Q&A on Last Ember Press with Brant and Lisa. So if you want to go check that out, it'll be on the Last Ember Press YouTube. Brant and I also brought back Hit Points, and we renamed it. It is now Hit Points Unlocked. It is now part of the Zone 4 podcast network once again. We also started a new podcast called There Can Be Only One, which is going to center around the Highlander. And we actually did our issue 0. It came out this past Monday. Episode 1 should be sometime this week. We'll be covering the first comic and other stuff. We haven't really determined what else we're going to add with that yet because just a comic review would be just so much. For myself, March, Celestial Falcon, issue 1 will be released. Woo! It's been 2 years in the development, but I hope that the 2 years will be worth the wait.
All right.
I've got It's a Podcast, which will be coming back to the Zone 4 podcast network. I'm sure if Brant was here, he would tease again that, the 8-year anniversary is coming up and something big will be announced. So I'll do that for him. And as far as me, mostly just comic frontline work, my own podcast work, and What the Card, which is where me and Brant do card openings, Frontline Gaming Zone where I do gaming. And yeah, I'm just everywhere. I'm just literally everywhere. I don't sleep anymore. I'm sleep deprived, and I'm probably going to end up in the hospital in about 2 years or something where they'll force me to sleep for like 2 months before I'm allowed to come back to YouTube. But till then, yeah, I'm everywhere. So you can find me everywhere on YouTube right now on all the channels and over here on Zone 4 Podcast with all the podcasts me and Brant do, and of course Zone 4. So Gordon, do you want to read us out?
Sure. Give me 1 second. Okay. We would like to thank the official bands of Zone 4, the Ray Wall Band and Society's Plague, that you hear on the show each episode. And when they come to your town, feel free to break out your lighters, flick them on, and yell, "Free Bird!" We are also proud members of the Comics Podcast Network. Whether they're proud of us is another story, but I'm not going to go there. You can find us on comicspodcast.com, Comic Frontline, Stitcher, iTunes, and of course Zone4Podcast.com. We'll even show up at your door. Think of us like Grand Funk Railroad. We're coming to your town and we'll help you party down. And if you have any comments, questions, recipes for bacon, small bills that you want to hand off to us, free money, send those to zone4podcast@gmail.com. And as always, thanks for listening. You are now leaving Zone 4.
This is only a test for the X-Men.
This has been a Gonzo Goose production.